Hello, everyone. This is another episode of Conversation with Rob. Please like and subscribe to our videos online and definitely listen to our broadcast on the radio. I'm sure if you're listening to this already, you already know about our broadcasts on the radio. Today, I have a special guest who I'm really interested in talking to because the year has pretty much just started. I know we're just in February, but everybody has their New Year's resolutions about losing weight, exercising more, and we see for most people continually as the year goes on, those resolutions fade away. But I have my guest is going to be talking about losing weight and exercising more. This is Kristen Carter, and she's written a book on this called Lose Weight, Exercise More? I Don't Think So. So, Kristen, thanks so much for being on the program. We greatly appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's good to be with you.
So let's talk about the significance of the title. What made you want to write the book, and what was the significance of that title?
Okay, so originally, I'll have to admit, I wanted to write a book that doctors could use in their offices because I know so many people have been told by their doctors to lose weight and exercise more. And many times that sort of advice goes right over their heads or they start thinking, no way, not me, it's too late, all sorts of negative things. And the doctors don't have time to say, here's how you do it, and so I wanted to write a book about here's how you do it so that it actually works. And I wanted to include the two biggest killers in this country, which is heart disease and diabetes, which I feel like a lot of people don't really understand the mechanisms for that and how much they can improve or get rid of those two diseases by losing weight and exercising more.
So let's get back to the title quickly. You did cross out "don't" in the title. It's crossed out for viewers that, and the listeners too. That's what is in the book. So why is "don't" crossed out in the title?
Because I want people to go from, I don't think so, to, okay, I can do this.
Right. No, I was just curious about that. But as far as we talked about diabetes and heart disease, and I know exercising is good for that. We talk about healthy eating too. But for many Americans, it's hard for them to lose weight. Some of the stuff is hereditary. Some of the stuff is lack of exercise. But we also see a lot in our food. We see all these kinds of things such as sugar, which is in all kinds of different names they use for sugar. The antibiotics in the food, which is hurting us because we see in antibiotics, they put it in milk and because the cows have it, so it's in our milk and a lot of milks. So with that antibiotics now, it's, so you may take a drug that may affect that. We look at the high fructose corn syrup too. There's links to cancer with that. So how do we live a healthy lifestyle with all this junk that's in our food? I mean, you look at the ingredients, Kristen, there's all these big words. I don't know what the heck they mean.
Well, right. What you want to do is look for foods that don't have those kind of lists. So you want to keep it as natural as possible. Some people take that really very far and go all organic if they can. I know a lot of people just don't have access to that kind of thing, and it can be more expensive. But the bottom line is to try to keep away from salt, sugar, and trans fats, and fats that are not healthy fats, which would be olive oil and Mediterranean types fats. So that's the way to do it. And people don't want to hear this, but here, I'm going to say it anyway. Stop eating dessert. I know sometimes I get really bad looks when I say that, but when you think about it, our calorie expenditure is not what it used to be. We just do not need those calories. And for the most part, unless it's fruit, that kind of thing is not good for us. Again, it's the sugar, the salt, and the fat. Tastes great. No doubt about that. But you can gradually make a move to other types of desserts, or just say to yourself, you know, healthy people don't eat this.
Right. So I'm going to give you and the listeners kind of key to my diet is I don't eat a lot of desserts, but I eat a lot of fruits. So that's the problem with me is I'm eating too much fruit, whereas some people eat too little fruit. That's like my candy. My candy is apples and oranges and all that. I love that stuff. I can't get enough of it. So that's my problem, whereas I need to watch, eating too much of those fruits and stuff because, it can affect your teeth with the acid too. So I've learned about that.
Okay, there's that. But you really can't go wrong with fruit. There is such a thing as portion control. And recent studies have shown that people who eat more fruit live longer. So I wouldn't feel bad about that unless you're diabetic or you're feeling like you're getting a punch because of it.
Right. Well,
Quite
thankfully,
frankly, I think it's a great habit.
Yeah, well, it's better than eating candy, as we talked about. But let's talk about the key to losing weight. Do you believe that, as I stated earlier on in the interview, I hear from a lot of people, some of it is hereditary, and as you just described too, it's portion size. We go to a lot, you go out to eat, and they give you these big, huge portions of food, and you look at a regular portion size, and it's like half the plate as far as that. So, I mean, is it the key that we're eating too much in this country and the portion size? You go over to another country and the portion sizes are way smaller than they are here.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. We've been sort of trained to think that big portions are normal, which they actually are not. So the other thing you can do is go back to the old-fashioned way of counting calories. And just take a gander at how much you're putting into your body versus how much is going out. If you have a sedentary job, if you're not very active, chances are you only need 2,000 calories a day. And if you want to lose weight, you're going to have to take in less than that. So you could start to figure in that kind of scenario that you could have 3 500-calorie meals a day. And then you'd have to do the math. You can have a snack. You can up your exercise. But after that, you have to really be honest with yourself. A lot of people underestimate the number of calories that they're eating. And they overestimate the amount of exercise they're getting. So that is one of the things that some coaches do, which is they have people keep a diary. And you count it all out.
So we hear about eating right. There's all these diets out there. There's keto, Mediterranean. There's many more. Do you believe in those diets? It seems like every time you look at a Men's Health or a Women's Health magazine, they have all sorts of these different diets. I mean, what is this about all this dieting? Weight Watchers too. I mean, I think it's kind of phony baloney because it's just basically what you said. You try to buy the best food you can, portion size, exercise, and this phony baloney stuff about diets is BS to me. What do you think about it?
I think that I pretty much agree with you. That I really am not a big fan of diets in general. Because I feel like the way to lose weight is to re-establish a relationship with food that's different from what you're doing. Now, a lot of people, in order to do that, will select a diet and they'll pick something that they can sort of live with for a while, but then after a while they can't live with it. So that's where things start to break down. So you have to step back and say to yourself, how can I change how I think about food? How can I change how I shop? How can I change what it is I'm selecting to eat to nourish my body? Because it's about nourishment. So as I explained with those 2 diseases, if you're not getting the nourishment you need, those two diseases and many more are going to creep in. So that's with the processed foods again. But I understand, back to the keto and the paleo.
Yeah.
I recently saw something where a doctor was saying he just eats meat all the time. And he's saying, you don't need fiber, you just need meat. And anything that's that extreme is not going to give you the nutrients that you need. So your body likes a lot of change, a lot of nutrients to keep it happy. And it does not like salt, fat, and sugar to keep it happy. Your brain does, but not your body.
Two more quick questions. I want to talk about healthy eating on a budget. You touched on this a little bit earlier on in the interview. In an economy where we see a lot of service jobs, a lot of people that are making minimum wage. Some people have big families where they can't really afford to make ends meet in general, and not even just that, they can't afford to go to the market if they have 4 kids, they're working minimum wage jobs, to buy, all sorts of organics, as we talked about, or healthy food in general. How do you buy healthy food on a budget for yourself, if you're making minimum wage or maybe a little higher than that, or even a family, with 2 or 3 kids?
Okay, well, first of all, you can ditch fast food. And that is not so cheap.
Agreed,
really isn't.
Yes.
Yeah, and neither is every time you go out to eat, it isn't cheap. And it's much more loaded with fat. So you can locate lots of cheap and nutritious vegetables. The catch, of course, is that you have to learn how to prepare them. And your family may not like that. They may not like the food for a while. You have to kind of slip it in slowly.
Right.
But you can look around and use your budget and get some very nutritious food that is not expensive.
No, I agree with you. The fast food is really expensive and the prices keep going up. I'm not a big fast food guy myself either. Let's talk about this. We talked about, I'm a guy that likes to work out. I see a lot of men and women in the gym. They're in really good shape. But I have friends, and you go out to eat, and they eat crappy food, but they still, have, great physiques, which is impressive. My thing is, and we talked about this down the road. You may be in really good shape, but if you keep putting that junk into your body, you're going to have those issues that you spoke about with the heart disease, diabetes, other sorts of medical issues could happen to you also. How do these people, is it just genetics that these people just, look great and they eat all these crappy food? We see even athletes too, that it's the same thing. They eat tons and tons of food and they still, look good.
Yes, I would say that's a good observation. It depends on how old these people are too. I used to volunteer for a teenage international tennis tournament, and we would house these kids, and they were always just snarfing down the pizza and just loading on the calories, as a lot of athletes do, because they need those calories. But as things go on, they must adjust and learn better habits in the future, or that's going to catch up with them. So no matter how you work it, yes, working out is healthy for you, no doubt about that. But you cannot exercise away a bad diet. You just can't. So you need to do it all. And I'll take Tom Brady as an example. So he's a pretty good specimen.
Right.
And his good friend Gronk, apparently a partier and a pizza eater, and he got Gronkowski to switch over his diet to create less inflammation. So Tom Brady is not necessarily a vegetarian, but he eats a lot of vegetables, a lot of clean food, and apparently that helps him recover better.
Right.
So yes, it all matters.
Right. No, I agree with you. Tom Brady's got the whole TB12 method about how he works out, and He's, at 42, he's still playing great.
Mhm.
He hasn't really had any serious injuries in quite a long time. So yeah, whatever he's doing is, as a guy that's a Patriots fan too, it's definitely working out for us, and hopefully they'll help him next year get a little bit more weapons. We need him to stay. But that's that's just a little
There you
tidbit
go.
of Patriots information in there for you. But we'll move back to the last few questions. What would you leave the viewers that, we go back to the same thing. I know we talked about preparing food and getting that vegetables, fruits, healthy options with the woman or the man that has the family and they're running around. What about, do you feel like stress also condones that kind of lifestyle that leads to heart disease, and also, eating bad foods? We see at night they have all these pizza commercials on TV, McDonald's. People come home from work, they put the TV on. They're not going to go probably and go and cook a good healthy meal. They're going to go for the bag of chips. They're going to go for the fastest, what do they call them? The microwave dinners. They're not going to do that. So is stress and, like family also affect those kind of, like I said, those issues as far as heart disease rather, and those issues?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people are stressed out. They're too busy. They have the kids. They've got this. They can't possibly add another thing on their plate, so to speak. And so they do grab things that are quick and easy, but you can slowly switch over to things that are almost as quick, but much more healthy, if you just become more aware of it. It may take 5 minutes to saute up some spinach. Stick something in the grill, but that's cooking while you do other things. Yeah. It is definitely a learning curve, and that is one of the problems. It is one of the barriers that I see all the time. People who want to make changes have a lot of things to learn. They do. And they have to decide that it's important, and then get some help with it if possible.
So Kristen, last question. What would you leave the viewers with as far as writing this book? And also, we're not going to have you give away the whole book because we want people to read it and buy it, of course.
Thanks.
Right. So what would you leave the viewers with is how to, really accomplish these things that we talked about, you rather talked about just now, but it's just a step-by-step process. You have to kind of work your way into it. But, how would you tell these people, they're in that grocery store and they see that it's like almost like an addiction. We could talk about the addiction to sugar, the addiction to soda. They see it and they just grab it and they don't even think about it. How would you tell them, leave the viewers about how to get rid of that?
Okay. So I feel as
excuse me. Sorry. I let out a sneeze.
Here's the deal with diets. Diets are into deprivation. And when you're into deprivation, it implies that you're doing something you don't want to do, right, which is true. So the way I think to switch it over is to add things. Add things that are better for you. And then you'd be surprised at the more vegetables and fruits that you eat, the less you want those other things. It actually happens that way. So it's more of a leading towards something than trying to use willpower and deprivation, because as we know, as probably everybody who's listening who's ever gone on diet knows, that does not work. You're going to end up gaining it again, and then you'll try the next diet. And that's what I'm really trying to put a stop to with my book.
Right. Where can people get that book and also find out more about you?
I have a website called Design for Fitness, all one word, .com. And the book is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Right now, it's just the Kindle version, the ebook. On the 12th of February, the paperback is coming out.
Okay, great. All right, so on the 12th of February, definitely go on Amazon or look in, as in the Barnes and Noble, and get that book. It's also available, as she said, on the Kindle version now. So Kristen Carter, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. I hope the viewers learned a lot. I know I did, and I really appreciate it. And let's talk again sometime down the line.
That'd be great. I'd love to.